And we're back with Harrowings podcast with Keith Garde. He's a visionary entrepreneur, strategist, and creative force who has spent more than 4 decades at the intersection of Hollywood, rock and roll, digital innovation, and emerging technology. At just 26 years old, Keith co founded Scotland Video and produced Sony's first ever Video 45, helping ignite the modern video revolution, an achievement that landed him on ABC's Nightline as a pioneer in a brand new entertainment form. He went on to co manage one of the most iconic bands in history, Aerosmith, a principal in guiding a global business comeback filled with multi platinum albums, sold out tours, MTV dominance, chart topping music videos, and groundbreaking brand partnership. Keith later expanded the blueprint industry wide, leading early innovation in online fan communities, VIP engagement experiences, e commerce ecosystems, and digital monetization, models now standard across the live entertainment world. His creative leadership spans Emmy Award winning television, multi platinum games like Guitar Hero, Aerosmith, major brand collaborations, nationally distributed entertainment products, and partnerships with companies ranging from Sony and Paramount to Activision, the NFL, and Habitat for Humanity. His documentary credits include directing and producing the seminal rock doc Aerosmith, The Making of Pump, consulting on Cracked Up, the Daryl Hammond story, and exec in charge of production for the artist Daryl DMC McDaniel's Emmy Award winning VH1 special, My Adoption Journey. Today, Keith is the CEO of Dream Key Syndicate, a human powered ethical AI media studio inventing new storytelling pipelines for an era where humans and AI co create. He also serves as advisor and mentor to executives, artists, and mission driven ventures, helping them build aligned organizations, stronger brands, and business rooted in connection. Keith holds a BA from Cornell University, completed the Executive Leadership and Management program at MIT Sloan, and has lectured at MIT, Harvard Business School, Berklee College of Music, and NYU, where he also served on the advisory board of the Music Experiences Design Lab. So please help me welcome an industry pioneer who has built successful businesses by building bridges between creativity, technology, leadership, and human imagination. Keith Garde. So, Keith, I see you're transfixed.
I'm impressed. Who is that guy?
I'd like to meet him. So
Uh,
let's meet him. What's on your mind today, Keith? What's happening?
what's happening is really Dream Key Syndicate, the animation company that is that I've co-founded. Um, it's such a gift, you know, how a gift and honor to work with creatives at the level of the team that's at Dream Key. Guys who come from Adult Swim, from Conan O'Brien, from from a guy who on our team who sold an interactive program to Disney. I mean, just crazy home run hitters, funny, fun, creative, and we are not only guys with a shared mindset, we have a shared heart set, which for me is it just it makes all of the talent, all of the capability, all of the clever that much more valuable, that much more the heart set makes it magical.
Yeah, heart set. Let's talk more about that.
Sure.
Give me some examples. I'd love to hear about it.
So we're the in the earliest days of our coming together, we weren't even a company.
Hmm.
We were guys like one guy saying to another guy, "Holy shit, man, I love what you're doing. You got to see what I'm doing." And there were this small group of guys, and one of the guys knew another guy who had an established company building a suite of investments in tech, in entertainment, um, and that guy was hearing about this, we're doing this, we're doing that. And he said, well, maybe we'd like to invest in your company. The guy
Interesting.
he was talking to was one of my partners in another venture. And he called me, the partner called me and he said, you know, so and so thinks that we're a company and he wants to invest. We're not even a company. Can you make us a company? So, yes, I can and did. And so put that together.
Yeah.
We were offered $1.5 million, um, literally out of the box. So heart set is, all right, you guys, I've spent a career supporting creatives in building a container within which you can flourish. So protecting you, helping you to profit, planning, lots of P's, right? And and I said, and we're not a bunch of smart kids in college with a good idea, and we need incubation. You deserve to you deserve to create what you want to create. You've earned it, and the heart set part of that is taking the risk to self fund and develop and be creative in a way that it requires a conscious awareness of how we are all connected. And that in essence, we were a creature with 5 heads.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, that creature with 5 heads, it reminds me of that whole idea the Grateful Dead had behind them of being fingers on one hand, the five of them
Yeah.
working together initially. Um, it's something that Phil Lesh called bleshing for blending and meshing. It's an idea
Mm,
I took from Theodore Sturgeon from More Than Human. Are you familiar with that science fiction writer,
yeah.
Theodore Sturgeon? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really what we want to do. There's so much that divides us as human beings anymore, these days anyway. And we need to come together in ways that you're talking about. So Dream Key Syndicate is doing that actively right now. There's some projects you probably already got out there in the world, right? From Dream Key. Is that
We
correct?
do. Um, we have an episodic series. It's all animated. It's an episodic series entitled "The Angry Shaman." And the angry shaman, it's hilarious on the
Okay.
one hand, but it's also poignant. The the characters, there's the angry shaman, and
Hmm.
he's got an alter ego, and the alter ego is tough love. And and he's also got his counterbalanced characters, right? There's Simon, who is kind of wizard-like, um, and there are two women, um, Uli and Rachel, and all of them therapeutic professionals who are involved with supporting some of what is psychedelic, but they're very much the stuff of trauma and healing. The participants in the ceremonies are anthropomorphized objects. A There's a toilet.
Right.
There's a weather vane. There's a Rolodex. Does anybody know what that is anymore?
Yes, I
Um,
do.
there's a fondue pot, and they all are symbolic on the one hand. On the other hand, there's just it actually is just so much fun because the interaction then becomes crazy, and it's that Adult Swim mentality.
Right.
Um, so it's really just really fun. And one of our investors, who's a rock star, Joey Kramer, the drummer from Aerosmith, has a show in development right now with us called um, um, Cream Dog Desert Desert, as in desert,
Yes.
Desert Doggin. For years, Joey, Cream Dog is his nickname. For years, he's fantasized about being a dog because dogs can get away with things that humans cannot. And
Interesting.
so this episodic series will be um, Joey puts on a VR headset in his living room, and our tech can blend real, real live action with animation. And so in real time. And so Joey puts on a headset, and all of a sudden he finds himself in as a dog. He's the cream dog in the desert in a video game. And I love the characters. We have one of the top artists, animation artists in the country working with us, and she's just, I mean, she's just unbelievable. Um, and we have the set of characters. I can't wait for this to come out because it's just so much fun. And
Yeah.
again, we'll deal with issues that are really with, of course, humor, with a degree of irreverence, hopefully sharp, hopefully very edgy, but real things about how human beings are, um, finding it hard to be human because it's hard to be human, and how that shows up in relationship with the evil, greedy oil man character and his yes men, three little roly polies who come rolling through the scene going, yes, oh yeah, that's great. Yes, boss, that's wonderful. We think that's a great idea. And um, Joey's love interest, who is a black cat, she also happens to be an auto mechanic, carries a very big wrench, um, among other characters. Um, and Aardvark, Pepe Castro, really lots of fun.
That's great. So I can't wait to see that myself. Where will it be available? Do you know yet?
We're looking at an April release. The artist, by the way, Diana Bedell, props to her, amazing. I mean, amazing. So, um, and there's again, it's a for me, it's an investment in how I am doing what love would do, which is not to sacrifice to take care of you and not to ask you to sacrifice to take care of me, but endeavoring to do things that take care of us. Acting in
Right.
the
Right.
best interest of the greater good of which we are all part. We're partnering with a company called EthoVox, um, voiceover EthoVox, V with a V,
Oh, Vox.
a voiceover company utilizing AI tech in the right way. A company formed by SAG, AFTRA, voice artists,
Gotcha.
voice talent, um, and we are leading the way in the ethical use of AI. AI is not going away, and our heart set again to heart set is how do you use this new technology in a way to create jobs, in a way to
Right.
create efficiencies that make things better, not worse? Not taking pride in we can eliminate jobs. We're shifting the nature of the landscape and creating a new lane of entertainment. And it's wonderful.
It does sound wonderful. And
Ooh,
the idea of
ooh,
heart set in particular has really snagged my attention because we hear so much about mindset, but mind without heart can be exactly what you were just talking about, kind of exploitive,
yeah.
extractive from the creatives, as opposed to nurturing that creativity and amplifying it across the different platforms of the different media. So EthoVox was the technology
He,
we're using for the voice. And that's what
yeah.
it was developed
EthoVox
by
and
SAG, AFRA, and the Voice Actors Guild, or what was that?
well, it's say the Screen Actors Guild, but
Screen Actors Guild too. Yeah.
the value for us there
Mhm.
is that we've created out of the box. We created um, technology that gives full attribution to every creative contributor to our stream content. It not only it not only provides for attribution, it also creates the allocation of what it is that they should get paid and provides for each contributor the ability to be able to have their own dashboard so that they can see where where what they've contributed is being utilized
Right.
and how and how it's stacking up and what it is that they're due and how they will get paid. So,
Mhm.
so it integrates with paymasters, it integrates with production team, it integrates with the production as a primary function of making sure that utilizing the tech that enables that kind of system
Right.
is how we use AI productively and ethically.
Through sort of a single pane of glass, everybody's got a vision of exactly how they're being compensated for their creative work, you're saying. And I think that's a beautiful concept. So, all basically developed by mashing up the technologies that you all have at your fingertips.
And much of it's original tech.
Yeah.
Our yeah, and our AI tech lead, his name is Will Brierly, the
Well,
nicest human being in the world.
okay.
Um, there's our chief creative officer is a gent whose name is Sean Baptiste. Um, these guys come from the gaming world. They come from entertainment themselves, entertainers along the way in the development of their, storied careers. And it's um, it's a joy. It's a gift. I feel blessed.
Well, it seems you are. It seems like you have been, like from 26 on at least. What was going on before you were 26? You got the BA from Cornell, right? We back
Yeah,
a bit. And
yeah.
then, so what was going on to get you to be the person who put out the first ever Video 45? I'm kind of curious about that. That was in Betamax, you told me, right?
It was in Betamax. It was what the real story behind that is a story of desperation.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, it's a real Hail Mary story.
Okay.
My two partners were the artist who wrote the music and created the video. Mind you, we started in 1970, whatever it was, right? 78. Um, and there was no MTV yet. There was really not there wasn't even a significant population of what was what we know now and take for granted as music video. You know, the big music videos of the day. The first was created in the late 1940s by Disney, called Fantasia.
Oh, yeah. I know
Right,
that one.
amazing, right? Amazing. Um, and then people like Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, who had inherited millions of dollars from his mom, who
Whiteout.
created Whiteout, right?
Yeah. Was it liquid paper or was it whiteout? It was whiteout.
Liquid paper.
Liquid paper. Okay.
I mean, that's what I heard. I could be wrong,
I
but
like to be
um,
accurate.
yeah, yeah. So, but it did the same thing, right? So,
Hmm.
and he was a super pioneer,
Yeah.
playing with video tools and creating things like Animal Parts was the title. If it's
Right.
probably searchable. Um,
Elephant parts.
Elephant Parts, and then Todd Rundgren was playing with video tech and doing some really interesting things. And so,
Hmm.
my dear friend, who was manager of a young artist from Scotland,
That's right. Scotland Video. Okay.
he made a deal for, his name was Jesse Ray, brilliant. A guy who would come over from Scotland to New
Mhm.
York, and when he would show up, the musicians, the guys in P Funk, Parliament Funkadelics, would drop what they were doing to work to record with this crazy white guy who had all the funk in the world inside him. And
Cool.
so Jesse and Stephen Supporta, my partner in that venture, Stephen Supporta. Um, so we started Scotland Video, and actually, Stephen. I mean, it's a longer story. I don't want to bore you all
Oh,
with
you
all
could.
of it, but Jesse wanted a video budget. Stephen miraculously makes a record deal on a Columbia imprint that was run by Billy Joel's then, or I think even then ex wife Elizabeth Joel, and it was called Decent Records. Have you heard of Decent Record lately? So um, Jesse gets a deal, and then he says, "I'm not going to record unless I get a video budget." And nobody even knew what that was. So Steven calls me because we had a suite of offices on Madison Avenue. I had for a kid, I had a very successful entrepreneurial um,
Mm.
business, working with entertainers, people who were famous, and fine art related biz. And so in our offices, they would see famous people coming in and out. And
Yeah.
Stephen comes over to me and said, "Can you talk to Jesse? He wants to have a video budget. Convince him to record his fucking album, and then we'll
Yeah.
get him a video budget." So I said, "Send him over," because I was very arrogant. I said, "Send him over. I'll take care of it." It took Jesse, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes to convince me. It's like, I can't do his accent, but it was kind of like, "Keith, it's art, it's music, these are your loves, you know." Um, so he convinced me to start with his manager, Steven, and Scotland Video. So here we are, three partners. I'm putting my money in, friends' money to make these videos. We finish this video.
Oh,
Jesse
they got
says,
it there.
it's called Russia. The story is a Romeo and Juliet story. It's a ballerina behind the Iron Curtain and her boyfriend or lover in the West, musician. They can't meet because of the political divide in their waking hours. So in their sleep, in their dreams, they meet and they dance together, and it's beautiful.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
We finish. My partners come in and say, "Okay, now go turn it into money, into value." I'm sitting there in my office, and I was anyway, high all the time. And I'm sitting there,
Mm.
and we have no money, out of money, like can't pay the rent next month and lunch.
Desperation. Okay.
So that morning, I sat there alone in my office crying.
No.
And I thought, but earlier that day, I was reading Time magazine and a story about Yuri Andropov, who had taken over in the Soviet Union. And the
Mhm.
president of the United States was Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
So, and the story about Yuri was that he was a jazz fan. And I thought, okay, our publicist says she won't do anything for us without getting paid. We don't have any money. What is it that is happening in the world that I can attach this to that will carry it on its energy, on its wave? Well, MTV had started. Now it's 1980 or maybe even early 81. Um,
Hmm.
and, the Cold War is in the headlines every day. And here
Yes.
I have a piece
Yes.
called Russia. So I suggested to my partners, Jesse writes a letter, which I wrote, um, to Yuri and to the premier of the Soviet Union and to Ronald Reagan, saying bullshit, 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 ending with, by no means do we think we know anything about geopolitical issues. Please accept this gift as a goodwill gesture with the hopes that the American young people and their Soviet counterparts will learn to dance together rather than to hate one another.
Oh,
And
Romeo and
so,
Juliet. Okay.
so my goal was to send it to all the news services at the time. There were, the national news services, there weren't many. It's not like today. The
No,
three networks, you know, Reuters, UP, UPI, um, we get a call. We get a call from we get a call from ABC News Nightline saying,
that's
if
what
you
gets you on Nightline.
and Nightline was at the time the biggest news magazine on television.
Good for
And
you.
what they said was, if you give us, so X hours lead time, we'll put you on Nightline. So Stephen and I zoomed across town to ABC's offices, met with their producers, helped them out with some MTV story stuff,
Hmm.
and the result of that was we were on the cover of Billboard magazine 4 weeks in a row as Jesse Ray as video pioneer, and made a deal with Sony, at the time when Sony was in the battle with their Betamax machine, battling for dominance in the market with the emerging VHS format. And so their idea was bundle software with hardware. And we made a deal with them for that distribution. And that was the tape that I held up.
I gotcha.
And we went from oh no, we're going to go out of business, to having that kind of exposure and that kind of visibility, which for me was a gorgeous life lesson telling me, look in your ecosystem for tools, gifts, and opportunities that don't seem obvious because they're there.
Yeah, that's a heck of a message. I'm taking it in
It's a good one.
because I need it. Right now I'm in a juncture when I can kind of desperate myself. So the video and it gets promoted on Nightline, right? As a brand new
Nightline,
entertainment core.
billboard. Yeah. And I think we ultimately lost money. I, I don't, I really don't remember. But we were able to continue on.
Yeah.
And I think the real value in that story is, and I hear this, paying a lot of attention to a lot of what comes out from the brilliant entrepreneurs and business people of today. Some of the
Mhm.
greatest advice that I've really taken on and have to be reminded of is be bold, be persistent, be bold.
Yeah. Well, I think that boldness is rewarded quite often. And sometimes you get your rear end handed to you in the process, but you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and charge forward, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, is the words I heard out of the mouth of Roy Wooten, Future Man, they call him. You know the Wooten brothers?
Yep.
Yeah. And they grew up right down the road from me, actually. They were like part of the country band at Busch Gardens, the old country in Williamsburg, Virginia, my hometown. I didn't know them personally then, but my a good buddy from who's still a good buddy now, many years later, who I've known since he was like 5, I think, or a lot younger. He took the drum chair away from Roy Wooten for the country band when those guys moved on to whatever they went on to right after that, sometime in the 80s. So back in the 80s we are, and it's about 82 now, I think, when you're on Nightline, right? 81, 82, somewhere in there.
81, yeah, 81.
Yeah, 81. I graduated from high school. Then Reagan got shot right over here near me. I'm about a block away from the Hinckley Hilton, as we call it. And what's funny, when he was released from St. Elizabeth's, John Hinckley ended up living in my parents' neighborhood. My father,
Wow.
late father, used to see him walking with like a blue thing on his ankle. But he did get out. And there's so many little weaving things in history that have come together to, and for you, it seems to me that between 82 and about, when did you actually get in with Aerosmith? About 89,
Oh,
90,
87.
87? So what was going on between then and 87? You were continuing to run this consultancy, was it?
Really, what I had moved in that period of time, I moved from New York.
Okay.
I just was escaping my drug habit,
Ah,
um, and attempting to leave it behind in New York. Um,
did it
and
follow you?
when I got to Boston, where I had moved,
Oh,
only to realize that not only did it meet me when I got there, it was with me the whole trip, right?
mm,
So, for the most part, it was a period of, I would say, some decline. Um,
yeah,
I had gotten married uh, a little bit later, right around the beginning of that, and moved from New York to Boston. Um, was writing business plans and kind of gig working, doing some consulting, being a little bit lost, a lot lost, I would say. Um, and, had become, my focus was more um, copying and using, and, a lot of drugs, a lot of drugs. And,
yeah, that
really,
heart set must have been kind of mixed up in there somewhere.
what was that? I'm sorry.
That heart set you had must have been kind of garbled in that time.
Well, I would say if we were to make a connection between heart and spirit,
Yeah.
which I do,
Yep.
um, I lost sight of a relationship with both of those. My relationship with my heart was one of a guy with a broken heart, didn't know it, and couldn't possibly know it because so much was masked. by the
Right.
my extensive use of of life, a better life through chemistry. But the fallacy there, of course, was it wasn't a better life. And then I kind of lucked into a an opportunity to start to work with Aerosmith as their marketing director, which
Okay.
not long after became um, a co-manager with Tim Collins. Um, and from 1987, with the release of Permanent Vacation, their second album on Geffen Records, to um, my last campaign with the band as co-manager being Get a Grip in 84, 83, 84, 93, 94.
Right.
Um, and I'd gotten cancer in 1993.
Oh dear.
Um, Stayed on with a lot of support
Mhm.
to deliver that tour, the biggest of their career at the time. Um, and then in early 1995, took a rest,
Well, you
started
need.
my own company, came back not to manage, but to consult with the band a, a year or so later and stayed with them into the, 2015. And I still work with the guys here and there.
Yeah, as you said, you're working with Joey right now, and that um, remind me.
Yeah, yeah, cream dog,
And
desert dogging.
Desert Doggin. All right. That sort of brings us back around. But, the Aerosmith period, when you got cancer, you had to be treated, I guess, and that treatment was successful, I take it.
Well, I'm still here. So
Yay.
the reason my voice sounds like this, it was cancer in my throat. Um, I
Yeah.
had surgery.
Yeah.
Whatever was were the regimen for radiation treatment of the day,
Yeah.
and 2 years of experimental chemo,
Okay. And no recurrence since?
and
Yeah.
still going strong.
That's great. That's great. And a lot of people do suffer from cancers of different forms, as we know, and it's quite a scourge on our society, I think, and the treatment is getting very regimented. I have a friend right now going through stage 4 cancer, and says it's just like a military operation when
Mm,
they're very impressed with it. It's almost industrial. And my father, when he had prostate cancer, said it was very no, very educational, right? He gets strapped in a machine that's perfectly formed for his physique.
hmm
The radiation took care of it, apparently. He got another good 10 years more out of it life before a lung cancer they also got with radiation, but it gave him damage to his lungs. And,
Yeah,
that can happen. And he was on oxygen for a year and a half. Apparently, that's something that also happened to Bob Weir recently. And he's passed away now of complications from the lungs, underlying lung issues. But anyhow, where I wanted to go with this, of course, is your recovery in Aerosmith. That was when you got off of the drugs, right? And got on clean and sober and have gone on from there. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? I mean, we don't
no,
have to.
not at all, not at all. It
I think it's a great message.
the my work life was intense. I mean, drug
Mhm.
addict, a drug addict who was did things addictively and needed desperately to have the ever better resume, and because I was supported by and hiding behind a cloak of achievement,
Right.
right
Love that.
underneath that, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know there was anybody under there, and so I lived a transactional existence. And I was still getting high when I started to work with them while I was taking them to meetings.
Okay.
Um, I think they didn't know. Pretty sure they didn't know. And then about a year and a half in, it was discovered that I was getting high. Um, so the same guys that I was helping a part of a team to help be in a safer, drug-free, drug and alcohol-free environment, um, became one where Tim, who had brought me in,
Mhm.
um, Tim Collins, and who, by the way, is credited, has to be credited with really being the driving force without whom Aerosmith would not have first gotten clean and sober.
Oh, okay. He was the driving
Um,
force. That's interesting.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Credit where
Um,
credit's due, huh?
saved a lot of people's lives and responsible for a lot of the gift of music happening in ways that
Like,
you never know what would have been when you're dealing with the what ifs, but what did
right.
happen was pretty miraculous. Um, and so I get a phone call, that they want to talk to me. So Tim and Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, for all intents and purposes, intervened on me.
Well, that's saying something.
And so,
You didn't think you had a problem though at that point. Is that correct? Or how
well,
did
the
you
truth
feel?
of the matter
How
is, I
did you
did not.
feel?
I was just full of fuck you, right? Um,
That's
I said
natural, right?
when I got involved with you guys, rah, 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 you were like, this wasn't working and that wasn't working. Here we are, and you're the most played band on MTV, and you've got this
You got
success and that money and this, and I'm absolutely, I'm key to and fundamental to that development and that growth and that success. Do you really want to be interrupting that process? You really want to be fucking with that? Get the fuck out of my face. And
I
then, but
love it. That's beautiful. So, and in a way, quintessential defiant. I love the defiance that we have within us. I'm also a recovering alcoholic, if I didn't say that
yeah,
already. But, the bottom line is, yeah, nobody can tell me what to do. But
oh
they did
man.
manage to get across to you. So you want to tell me how that transition happened?
Well, I mean, there were a number of
Interesting,
things.
or
One
how
is
would you like to go?
they wanted me to go away for treatment.
Awesome.
Um, for 28 days. My
Mm,
wife at the time was in her ninth month of a third pregnancy, the first two being miscarriages, one of them being late term miscarriage. And I said, I'm not leaving.
right.
Um, but it was later that night after I, fuck you to everybody. Um,
Oh,
Tyler called me and he said, among other things, but the real kicker was after I told him, Stephen, you're so full of shit. Everything you said was like, Tim just put words in your mouth and you repeated them like a robot. And
mhm.
and in very Stephen style, he said, I know. And then he said, he goes, Bud, we love you and we don't want you to die.
Sweet.
So I said a different fuck you. It's like you got me, but fuck you, Stephen. And that was on January 4th, 1989. A
Mm.
little background, my mother had died on December 17th, 1988. I went into a family of origin inpatient treatment program in in November of 1988. Came out December 2nd. Um, not drug rehab, but
Mhm.
intensive experiential therapy. Came out, lied, of course, about my drug use while I was there. Um,
Mhm.
came out emotionally raw, right
Mhm.
into work. Um, 2 weeks later, my mother dies. And then on January 4th, I'm intervened on January 6th. I went to my first meeting where when I stood up, because that's what they did in that meeting,
Right.
because I was called on even though I didn't raise my hand. Somebody
Oh,
must have
man.
somebody must have been behind that. Um, and I said the words, my name's Keith and I'm an addict. And a tear, just not sobbing tears, but like a pressure cooker that you just open that valve a little bit and some of the pressure start in the form of a drop of water comes out. So and then on that was January 6th, 1989, and then January 16th, 1989, my daughter was born.
Ah, okay. I was going to ask about how that turned out.
It's quite a run. So
What was the date again of your daughter's birth?
January 16, 1989. So she and
Oh,
I celebrate our
nice.
birthdays together.
Your birthday is?
Well, my AA birthday,
Oh, your
Jan
AA birthday.
January 6th, which
January
truly
6th.
was the beginning of, I
Okay.
mean, a rebirth. I mean, I was for a long time I was a tourist. I didn't believe that I really belonged. I thought
Oh,
you
really?
belonged, right? But
85, I was a tourist.
and I'll tell you, it took about a year and a half of
Hmm.
my going to meetings I didn't use. I was afraid I'd lose my job, um, which was the most important thing to me because it was
Right. Who are you
prestige,
without it? Yeah.
right? And I also believed I couldn't be of any value to anybody else anywhere. Um,
Oh, man.
and so I would go to meetings. Also being in Boston, I believe the band had spies. Tim had spies. I needed to show up and have the spies see me and report good things back. Um, and one day, and going to meetings, I'm hearing a lot, being a good student and being able to, regurgitate literature. And one day, it was a Sunday night, I was in a meeting
No.
in Newton, Upper Falls, Massachusetts. And I would go to this meeting every week, and there were a bunch of guys, bikers, who grew up in the area, used together, got clean together, and they
Yeah.
were, um, here I was,
Mm.
Mr. Published poet, Ivy League grad, boy, did I compare, compare, compare. And, but they scared me, these guys. Not they would hurt because they would hurt me, but because I felt like an outsider all the time.
Mm. Hmm.
And here are these guys, these bikers, and there was one guy who looked just like Charlie Manson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and
Got a picture.
His name was Billy D. And so we're in this meeting, and this kid, brand new, raises his hand, said, I'm here for like a week. I asked somebody to sponsor me, and he told me I had to follow a bunch of rules, or I don't belong in the program, and that he wouldn't sponsor me. And I thought there are no rules, only suggestions. So I hear this kid, and
Hmm.
the voice in my head says, if they told me when I first came in here that would have to have followed a bunch of rules, I would have said, go fuck yourself. And I'd still be out there using. Well, I didn't say anything. The next speaker was Charlie Manson. And
Yeah.
Billy D says, if somebody told me when I first came in here that I had to follow a bunch of rules, I'd have told him to go fuck himself and I'd still be out there using. And I got a chill, a
Because it was,
warm chill right through my body. And in that moment, what came true for me was what I'd been hearing about when I compare, I separate.
right. Right.
And,
Right.
and my disease wants me alone, but wants me dead, but first it wants me alone. And when I identify, when I relate, I connect. And so after the meeting, I went up to Billy and I told him what I just told you, Hal.
Yeah.
And he put his arms around me
Oh,
and he leaned in close and he whispered in my ear and he said, keep coming, kid. And he and I became very close, dear friends, until the day he died.
sweet.
Yeah.
I have so many stories along the same lines in my 41 years around us. My sobriety date, I should say, is 9/11/2015. I was at the Locken Festival down south of Charlottesville, and I decided to take one night off. And I've sensed I wasn't being any too smart and threw it out the next day. Thank God. That was my last time. And I was interrupting 5 years, 8 months, 28 days. I figured it
Mm,
out later, but I knew when my last drink had been before that. But I hadn't told anybody about any of it because I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I decided to keep things close to the vest. And part of it is this guy, Ed, back in Pittsburgh, who on his 34 and a half years or so, he was leading a meeting called Don't Drink, which I think is a great name, right? And he said that the guy who 12 stepped him, February 20th, 1964, said to him, I haven't stopped drinking. And I thought, what is this guy doing 12 stepping you if he hasn't stopped drinking? I haven't stopped drinking. I've just made a conscious decision not to do it today. And by doing that, it's put together a year and a half of days. And Ed, at that time, the kid, as he was being called by the other people there because he was very young, February 20th, 64, he put down his drink and he proceeded to put that into practice. That's an interesting fundamental program there,
Sure
where you
is.
basically say, I just made a conscious decision not to do it today. And I do that every day. By doing that consecutively, I put together the days I've got.
Mm,
I like that. I don't think it's a matter of time so much. The experience, there's no substitute for lived experience of continuing to be sober because layers come off, don't you think? As you go
absolutely.
down the road, I mean, you're at 37 years, right?
37 years. Yeah, yeah, man. If you do the work, layers come off, right?
Right. And so layers are coming off you now, and you've gotten down to your heart set and being motivated by that versus the achievements. I love what you said about achievements because I've got so many friends around DC. You
Mm,
know DC, right?
sure.
We had this little meeting that used to meet over in this guy's house because some of these guys were too public figures to be out.
Hmm.
And they invited me in. I could not figure out what I'm doing in there. But I said, I got to practice investigation prior to contempt. So I'm going to go and I'll hang out with these guys. And a lot of them are very high achievers. But then you listen to their stories and what they're achieving against. Oh my God, I'm not going to name any of them, of course, but the bottom line is they've gone through hell and are still living in a sort of hell that they're compensating for in
Yeah.
major ways. Oh, one of these guys, he's just amazing. And I know his backstory and I know what kind of grief and trauma he's carrying. And you have done so much in this other line here down 4 paragraphs into what I read initially about consulting on Cracked Up. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that came to be? Is that big,
Well, in
or is somewhere else
1980,
you want to go?
sure, in 1988,
Hmm.
I was making a. So I'm working with Aerosmith,
Yeah,
and I'm thinking now that they're clean and sober,
yeah,
they can have a career outside of the United States, really build a global career. Um, while they were using, they couldn't because they couldn't bring drugs, heroin across, borders. Customs agents didn't take
right.
kindly to that. So they um, toured back and forth across the United States. Now let's be global. And so um, their record label, Geffen Records, didn't take kindly to the idea of the band touring internationally,
No,
without doing everything necessary in every way logically to support the record sales in the United States.
okay.
And because the execs at Geffen Records, which was their label, and by the way, was an amazing label at the time in those early days, did incredible things with a small team growing. President of the label, Eddie Rosenblatt, the heads of departments, just an amazing environment. The publicity team, Bryn Brodenthal and Laurie Earl, were they were just amazing. The head of rock radio, um,
Mhm.
the GM Al. I'll tell you an Al Corey story. When I was in bed after my surgery, and the GM of the label called me to say, um, hey kid, how you doing? We all love you. And I said, fuck you, Al. You don't know. Everybody doesn't love me. And we're laughing. I said, why are you calling me? He goes, all right, I'll tell you the truth. We're all shitting in our pants that you're going to die. And then who's going to get the band to do the shit we need them to do? It's funny. But I mean, it was all love, right? It was good. So um, I thought, how can Aerosmith be in a lot of places at the same time as the band that they were, who put in the kind of heart and soul and blood and and the full spectrum of emotion from the worst imaginable anger and to the most beautiful admiration and love and support all in 5 minutes and turn it into song and how, if the world sees that, they'll love this band, they'll love these human beings, um, and be intrigued and maybe scared and all of those things. And I thought, well, let's document the making of an album. So in the making of that film, I knew that of that documentary that if I interviewed the band members individually, they would just fuck around all the time with me because we all were too close. They knew me too well. So I hired a guy to interview them who had written um, some rock books and um, Marty. You know Marty?
I don't know him personally, no. But I remember you mentioning him. And Marty, what was his last name?
Martin.
Is he coming up?
I
I
will.
did.
He deserves to be mentioned. I'll
Yes,
remember.
I
Um,
did it eventually.
Marty. Let me see if I can find it. But this is how I met Michelle,
Right.
um,
He was her boyfriend, right?
her boyfriend.
Right. At the time. Martin, who wrote um, The Making of Pump. And ended up doing the writing after interviewing these guys.
Well, um, I mean, the film idea was mine. The work,
Oregoff.
Marty Torgroff. Yeah, Marty in IMDb and a number of places is credited with um, being a co-director and a co-producer. Marty did the interviews.
Gotcha.
I love Marty. He made a big contribution, but the film was not his idea. The production was not his. It was a little bit at the end, and um, but the interviewing and his questions and his in-depth ability to really guide a process was truly spectacular. And I owe him a debt of gratitude, and so does the band, because it was what the result was that video, that film became um, was distributed around the world. We made a Geffen didn't have a video distribution arm at the time in
This is kind of
19.
interesting, actually. He also wrote something called Can't Find My Way Home, uh, key book, a definitive narrative history of illicit drug culture in post-war America. I'd like to
Not
read
bad, right? Yeah.
that. Go ahead.
One day we were doing some editing and Michelle uh, came into the studio and she and I hit it off and
Uh-huh.
um, both in relatively early days of recovery, hers longer than mine. Um, but um, that began a relationship. And over the years,
Yeah,
in many ways, um, there are a lot of things along the way that Michelle would say or do, or,
right.
that really helped me in my recovery. And I got very involved with trauma research as layers were coming off and believing that I needed to know. I needed to know how systems worked, especially the human system, and how they were affected by those things that create a separation
Well,
and
family
separate us.
system. Yeah. That's where you sort of started, right? With the before the actual rehab thing. It was
Yeah, yeah. And
and
so, um, so Michelle and I, when Michelle was working with um, Daryl
right.
and making Cracked Up, we were in lots of contact, and Michelle would ask me questions um, about music related things,
Mhm.
um, and so I was a consulting music supervisor, and so much of what we were bonding in that process over was this idea that Michelle would discover in her own experience a rich, hard, um, long period of learning, growing, being the incredible storyteller she'd become,
Yeah. And
her ability to be able to really zero in on fundamental truths having to do with what fucks us up and how we heal and how
right.
we heal. Right. And so, she said to me when she was writing with Daryl, helping him
Mhm.
literally as a scribe, and one
Yes.
of the psychiatrists he was seeing said, "It's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you."
It's a mental injury, not a mental illness. That
Oh, man.
line.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for remembering that line. And
Oh
because
man,
it's,
I've immersed myself in this because I met Michelle, when she signed this, whoop,
oh, what a great film.
yeah, for me, along with Wavy and
Wow.
Jordan and Joss on the inside. Oops.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Um,
great.
and I bought 10 copies. That was one. And then I was distributing the others. But I asked Michelle then, what are you doing next? And she told me that she was working on this film on Daryl Hammond. And I said, well, can I help? They didn't have a name yet.
Hmm.
So that's how I connected.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and it turned out to be, on in the documentary world, big hit. Um, and a very important film. And so
Yeah.
that's, so and I mean, Michelle's a filmmaker. I'm a connect audience and artist guy.
Mhm.
So yes, I've written books. Yes, I've made films. I've produced and directed documentaries. The Aerosmith film. Um, Worked on a number of things that um, connect to as that beautifully.
Oh, you froze.
Um,
Yeah. Go ahead. You were freezing for a second. Oh, froze again. Oh, maybe Keith will be back in a second. There you
is it
are.
me?
Now you
Is it
got it.
my
Yeah. You were freezing for a second, but you're back.
my internet continues to be faulty? But
You good then?
so, so the real, the real value in how I operate was really, how do I support the clients I have by
Mm.
building their audience, their customer bases and size in loyalty and revenue generation. And the fundamental tool is love. It's a
Yeah.
nice show how connect on the basis of really fulfilling your responsibility in the value proposition. What am I giving you in exchange for what you're giving me? And if it's a transaction, you give me money for the t-shirt, for the concert ticket, right? For the stream, that
Mm.
ain't it. That's not it. I if I mean it's certainly essential, but it's the loyalty part. And that's one of the things that was so amazing about working with Aerosmith. With all the shit you may see in the news about when they fight with each other or you know, every one of those five guys was was and continue to be dedicated to the strength of their career as a function of the relationship they have with a fan base that they are grateful for always. And they were incredible. Oftentimes I didn't get called by name. I was the pain in the ass because I would make them do shit. I didn't have to work to make them do things like stay until 3 and 4 in the morning at a venue to shake a hand and sign an autograph for every person who bought a can of food to feed people who were hungry.
Interesting.
To go with Steven Tyler, where at every concert, to go with um,
Mm.
the the rep, whoever was the promoter rep, and Steven insisted on being shown himself where the people who would be in wheelchairs were going to be seated to be sure that there was no obstructed view. I mean, you think it's
Beautiful.
like a little thing, but they're just, I mean, so good and and caring, and it's true of each guy, all of them. I mean, when the VIP thing became a big thing,
Yeah, I was going
Tom,
to ask about that. Go ahead.
Tom Hamilton, bass player, just a beautiful soul. He goes, I don't want to take people's money to meet them. I wouldn't have a career without them. Well, online in the chat rooms, people were like, who the fuck does Tom think he is that he's not coming out and meeting with us? Only to realize people are happy to pay to spend that time and hear the stories and get up close and personal. Um, but I mean, just, again, crazy bastards, sure. I mean, who isn't? And, but, in the extreme that with the distortion of fame and fortune, um, that inside Brad Whitford, um, just a magical under. I mean, this is a guy who should be heralded as one of the great, great, great rock guitarists of all time. And Brad said to me once, you know, the five biggest fans of Aerosmith are the five guys on that stage when we're playing live. And I love them for that.
Yeah. Well, I see that, in order to do that, in order to function, Whifford must have taken his ego down a good bit to just be functioning in that milieu, right? In that,
Yeah, the truth that Hal is that I, God bless him. That
yes,
I don't, is it? I love to say. I mean, I don't know. Um, deep deep down inside, I think in
yeah,
many respects, it was brutal to be the guys who were not getting the accolades the way that you know Stephen and Joe did and do. Um, I always saw the band as a creature with five heads. And if you take any of those heads away, it's not the same. That was
right,
me.
right.
Now, I'm a
That's right.
romantic
Mhm.
and someone who I'm an egalitarian. I believe every contribution, that when somebody says, I'll be in a meeting or we're at a creative collaboration, and someone goes, wow, man, that was brilliant. You had this great thing. And I believe this with all my heart. We are co-creating that you may
Yes.
say or I may say, or it wouldn't have happened were it not for this moment, this collaboration, this energy in the room that holds us. There may be two of us, but there's a third entity, and that is our relationship. And what emerges from it because of the fact of our connection. And I saw that and believed in it and what happened with this band. And not to in any way say Stephen, it wasn't one of the great, or isn't still one of the great rock and roll frontmen of all time. And that Joe Perry also, I think, undervalued. Um, I mean, he's the epitome of fucking guitar god.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I say all these beautiful things about them, and not because I think they're the best band in the world. Um, I know them very um, intimately, or at
Well, it sort of saved your life.
from the time,
Sounds like-
and they saved my life.
yeah.
And as I said, I'm a romantic. I mean, to me,
Hmm.
in 2021 New Year's Eve, I sent Stephen a note thanking him for the gift of being able to be a co-creator in some ways,
Yeah.
and to have the experience. And he sent me a note back saying, he said, I paraphrase, but how he goes, I can't believe that you're thanking me. You know, when you know, you showed up with your genius
Yeah.
just when my band needed you and you saved our career. Now, of course, I thought he must need something from me. But
Yeah.
but
Well, he may well. I mean, Joey's getting something from you now, and you're getting something from him, and
and
that's just
I
like fantastic. I'll
it's
bring it back to that for a second. The whole
well,
cram.
yeah, you know,
Yes.
and it's the epitome of how we heal. My relationship with Joey having gone through what he had gone through in the last 5 years,
Mm.
and even before that, um, showing up to be and develop a relationship where you know the you keep only that which you give away. Um, my relationship with Joey, as with other people, uniquely though with Joey, in the sense that there's been so much pain and so much damage and so much to. I mean, most people who've been through what he'd been through are dead.
Yes.
And it was also Joey who, in 1993, we were at an award show sitting backstage, and he looked at me, and I had a swollen gland here. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, dude, what the fuck is with that lump?"
Really, he was the first one to call it out.
He was the only person who ever did. And I thought I just had
Wow.
some, was fighting something, but
Wow, interesting.
it
That's
scared
really
me
interesting.
enough.
I had a drummer step in front of me when I was 17 and told me, "Man, you got to learn your limits." And he didn't look too different from Joey, actually. Had his hair. And anyway,
Wow.
go ahead. I
Wow.
was 17 years old and it was already obvious.
Wow.
Anyway,
Did you believe him?
I actually didn't know what limits were. I didn't understand the word. Limits are something to transgress. Don't you understand? That's how we live here. Now, Kevin went on. I'll tell you a little bit about Kevin because Kevin was an extraordinary individual, as many drummers are. Kevin went on. He was our section leader in 1981. Lance, the other guy I was mentioning, who replaced Roy Wooten on the drum chair for the country band at Butch Gardens, he was our sergeant major in the fife and
Mm-hmm.
drum corps. I'm wearing my fife and drum corps alumni hat.
I know you're very military today.
Yeah, this is I was a sergeant after all, and Kevin was our section leader for the snares, and he went on to found a fife and drum corps in Arrowhead Lake, California, that's modeled on the fife and drum in Williamsburg, made a nonprofit. It's still going now, but Kevin was killed by a drunk driver in
Uh,
2011, just before his band was coming to Williamsburg across the country to perform in Drummers Call, something they did every other year, and they still do every other year. And they still go on. He had carried that whole fife and drum ethos into that community, and young men and women are profiting from that discipline, right? That musical discipline that we had. Now, we also partied very, very hard. Kevin was the first one to pass me a bong. And that was at
Thank
the
you very much.
festival parade in Philadelphia. And we had gone up to this motel where you rent rooms by the hour. Our PR guy didn't really know what he was doing and found the cheapest hotel he could to put us up north of Philly, across from the Roosevelt Cemetery. So we, of course, ended up partying in the cemetery, which is kind of a good title for a memoir or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where I was introduced to substances for the first time. And I really liked the Budweiser much better than the other stuff. And so I was dyed in the wool from the beginning. And like I said, Kevin did that. He died in a tragic accident caused by a young man who had come across a curve too tight in a mountain road in California and went head on into Kevin's Jeep. And that was it. 48 years old, he was cut off. There are a lot of others like that, like Billy D, you mentioned,
Mm,
who reminded me of my friend Greg Ide. He was a great guitarist. He went out to LA and he was trying to do it. He was sober for a while, went to meetings with him a bit, but died of the liver finally giving out and that thing where you take on water and have to have it drained off the side by a stent. Um, Tragic.
yeah.
And that's how this goes, you know. It's like, and there's such an easy solution. A lot of it has to do with stripping off the layers of the fuck you can't tell me what to do, and getting to the point where there's that heart set that you've talked about. I think that's a great theme. Let's bring it back to where you were going, though. You said Joey's been through a lot of pain and he would have been dead otherwise. Drummers tend to help us out if they can. I think drummers are somehow or another, being a drummer makes you all heart because you're driving your four arms and legs simultaneously in different rhythms to bring the music, that oomph that it needs to push forward as these other guys are doing whatever they do with notes. I'm impressed by drummers myself, and I love the feeling of the drums behind me when we march again. And we do
Yeah, yeah.
and do it periodically. I'd like 2 or 3 times a year I'll get out with the alumni.
Well, what was the first sound used for the tribe on this side of the valley to talk to the tribe on that side of the valley? So drum beat.
Yeah.
It's the human heartbeat.
Oh, that's interesting. Bring it back to the heart.
Oh yeah.
And that's got to be beaten. And the breathing is important too. I'm a wind instrument guy. So I'm always putting out the shrillness to penetrate the signal through the void. And that's what we've been trying to do here by raising your signal through cyberspace,
Mm,
carrying the message, so to speak. And I didn't know where we were going to go. I'm really glad we went the places we've gone. Shamanism. So angry shaman, was it?
yeah.
That's the product. And you say there's several episodes. Where can I find them?
So well, you go to YouTube
YouTube?
and search V as in Victor VC TV 9000, and you can see all the content in from the last 2 months, last 2 quarters of 2025. We've got 250,000 subscribers. We have over 6 million views. We are, um, we're killing it, which is great. And it's exciting and rewarding and a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So if there's creative artists out there who want to get involved with you, how do they go about that?
Write a check.
Get on board.
No, no, there's heart right there, right?
It
Well,
moves the world. I mean, we are Homo economicus, I often say. Every cent spent is a vote for the world we are co-creating.
there you go. I creative artists, I don't have I'm not managing. I'm doing, the one of the things that PKA Management, my management company does is to, um, I have a practice. It's a confidential advisory where I help CEOs, high visibility celebrities with going through the door of personal guidance and coaching
Lovely.
to where it is in the businesses that they run, that they influence, how they can improve the um, literally their bottom line by being better balanced in who they are as humans, who they are as business people, looking at the trauma that has
Oh.
caused imbalance and how to heal, how to better align with self. Um, it's the most important work that I do.
That's lovely. I mean, I think the importance of the work you did with Cracked Up, you mentioned how you thought that was one of the best works you've done as well, and help storytelling. That was and when it comes down to it, at the Margaret Atwood, I think, is the one who said it. At the end, we all become stories.
Yeah, you hope that, and stories told well. Um, and Cracked Up, I was marginally involved, really. I mean, in all fairness, it's Michelle Esrick, just magical storyteller, and we're working on
Mhm.
a project now together where I was much more involved,
Yeah, please.
in the same vein, kind of next level stuff. Um, and, so much that is focused on, yes, the reality of the trauma of our lives, but with so much emphasis on how we heal,
Yeah.
how we heal.
Yep.
And, and one of the things I love about having the privilege of working with Michelle is she doesn't just craft a story, tell a story. She's not an observer. She's in the story. She tells the story from the inside.
Yeah. I loved her TED talk that she did with Through the Mud We Rise, which is a few years old now, but
Yeah.
it still resonates. And I share it whenever I can with people because I think it's a powerful story. And a lot of times my voice isn't the right voice. And I would rather amplify somebody else's voice. I'd rather be in the back, helping those people be heard. And,
Hmm.
you know, makes it my day if I get.
Well, how going back to that idea of co-creation and
Yes.
credit really being something that is should be shared.
Mhm.
The when I think every voice is our voice, and what prevails ultimately, we hope, is the one that connects us rather than the the frequency and the resonance that separates us.
Yep. Yep. I do what I can with my voice. And I've been working with a voice coach actually to do that. And a little bit of that thing you were mentioning about bringing canned food, that Aerosmith had put on. It just reminded me of this thing that happens down at JV's restaurant in Falls Church, Virginia, called Dead Musicians Stew. And my friend Sunny, who's my vocal coach, she's a singer. She gets out there with a mashup of musicians doing dead covers and asks that everybody bring a can
Mm,
and collect up food for a food bank.
right.
It's a beautiful little gesture. And everybody can do this, I think. That's another thing I'd like to throw out to the people who listen to our talk is that you've had a storied career and seem to have the luck of the Irish with you or something, even though you're not Irish, right? I think we went through your
Oh
back.
no, I'm not Irish, but my partner Julie is part Irish, and I have to tell you
Yeah.
that I talk about luck. Um, Dr. Julie Dunwald, um,
Okay.
a interesting. I mean, I don't know why I'm giving her a shout out.
Please do.
The I mean, I know why I give her a shout out every day. Um, because I am. When you talk about storied. Um,
Mhm.
with all of the pain, all of the heartbreak, all of the difficulty, um, from cancer to being, coming from a violent, difficult family of origin experience, um, drug addiction. I am so blessed. Uh, and I used to think when I was a kid I had a guardian angel, and that I was chosen to have these difficult experiences to withstand them and make the world a better place. I believe that when I was a little kid. Julie says it's because I had a near-death experience when I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
Because I stepped out from behind a parked car into the path of an oncoming car,
Wow.
um, and my little body was broken. So, um,
Wow.
but and so for years the drugs and that relationship with what felt um, like safety in the universe was gone.
Oh.
And having Julie in my life, I feel like that's the proof that I have a guardian angel.
I feel the same way about Lynn, my wife, who we've been married now, coming up on 18 years.
Beautiful.
And she arrived at the right time for me. I was
Mm,
relapse mode. Um, I knew that I was in trouble. I wasn't willing to admit it to anyone else, but she came into my life and I was able just to stop and stop for a while. dabbled again when she had a stroke and was in the hospital for that, and then stopped again when she came home. And that was the 5 years, 28 days, and 8 months I mentioned earlier.
How's she doing?
And she's doing all right. I had that 1 day event, and now I've been now a little over 10 years. But she is going to be, you know, paralyzed on the left side of her body for life. But she can walk with an ankle foot orthotic on one leg, and
Mm,
left arm just hangs in. But she did
mm,
everything with her right hand. That's a strong arm, I'll tell you what. She got up to no good with it the other day, tickling me. Don't enjoy that. But she's done everything for herself. She can't shave under her own arms. I have to do that. But
mm,
that's like the minimal things I have to do. I don't have. There's occasionally there's something that takes two hands. I do it, and otherwise, I'm just in awe of my wife.
mm.
And I think that's really key too. I don't know if this is going to be interesting for people to hear about, but happy wife, happy life, right? So now I go about one of my major principles.
Mm.
You sound like you've got same set. Now, how long have you and Julie been married?
So, we are actually um, not
Oh,
legally
together.
married
Together.
yet.
Oh, right. We talked about it.
Um,
7 years you've been together, right?
just about,
Yeah. Okay. I remember now. Don't stick the foot in my mouth. But it's a good deal, being together with somebody who is carrying you through what you've got to go through. And that's the way I feel. I feel like we carry each other, like the old U2 song says. If you're familiar with
Yeah,
one, it's actually about a breakup, but still, it's got a great message. I think
great message.
we can carry each other through anything. Did you ever work with U2 by any chance? Or
No,
cross paths? Somebody I
no,
was talking to has, I guess it was Jay Blakesberg. Do you know Jay? He's a photographer.
no,
He's a
don't.
photographer. He does the Grateful Dead and stuff. This is one of his books I happen to have here. Oops, can't.
Well,
Jerry Garcia, Secret Space of Dreams. There,
mm,
you can see Secret Space of Dreams there. Anyway, and Jerry flashing in and out. My blur background. Anyway, his daughter helped him do this one. Well, and maybe I'll turn off the blur. That would help. Hang on a second. Whoop, that turned off my video. That's not what I meant to do. Blur my background, uncheck that. Okay, now you got my background. This one here is another one of Jay's collections. It's a box set basically called Red
well,
Blakesburg. He's a little stoner kid in New Jersey in the 70s and turned into a photographer because he didn't know what else to do. I had him on the show one time and we did,
mm,
and I may have him back. He's just a really great raconteur too. He's a great storyteller, as you might imagine. He sold out the Birchmere. I don't know if you know the Birchmere down here in Alexandria. It's
no,
these music venues. Hot Tuna played it not too long back and has a 2000 recording from it. But he sold it out with his slideshow.
mm, wow,
It's a
wow.
it's a PowerPoint presentation,
Oh,
basically.
that's
He just
that's
talked his
great.
way through, but it's all about the Grateful Dead and light and shadow, light and dark. Because there's a lot of light and dark in all these musical stories, I think, and all of our lives. And I think that's
Sure.
one of the reasons music carries us through.
So,
I,
it's not an easy life.
yeah.
Of course, would hear people say, what do you mean you're tired? What do you mean how, who does that fucking guy think he is? He's rich and famous, and it's not an easy life to be on the road, to be um, interrupted at you know, at dinner, walking down the sidewalk, and it's not to be pitied, not to feel sorry for, um, but just the truth. It's not an easy
I,
existence.
I go out of my way not to interact with the musicians when they're working, uh,
Yeah,
because I'm a big fan, but I'd rather interact with them out here when they
yeah.
get on the air and take a few minutes. I just realized I've kept you for about an hour and a half.
And it's time to get rid of me. So,
I don't think it's time to get rid of you. I just want to be respectful of your time,
well, I do need to go. I do
Very
need
good.
to take care of a few other things
Yeah.
out here on the West Coast on a Friday. But I do want to say to you that I give props to your voice coach. You have a great voice.
Well, thanks. I keep trying to work it, and I wanted
It's a
to.
beautiful resonance and a nice kind of, you know,
People have said I have a face for radio as well as a voice
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
very nice of them to do that.
I try to do what I can. I've been on the radio out there your way in KSKQ in Oregon a couple of times and interviewed with the morning show host because David Gantz is a music journalist out there,
Mm.
was on. And in the course, somebody mentioned something. But let me wrap up. I could go on and often do. So, Keith, thank you so much. Any last words for us? Anything else about Heartset you'd like to transmit?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for the opportunity. So trite as it may sound, um, something I do believe with all my heart is that a real quick closing story. Years and years ago, I was at in a think tank session, um, and the facilitator interrupted herself and said, "Hey, if let me ask you a question to the group. If the next thing you said or the next thing you did, even and especially in conflict,
Mm.
came from a place of love, would you make that choice?" And when I heard her say that, I thought, what a stupid question. Of course I would. I mean, isn't everybody going to say that? Then the truth voice in my head said, but you don't. You don't. You get defensive. You take out a shield. You take out a weapon. You know,
Mm.
you don't. What does that mean? What what is a place of love? What would love do? What does that really mean? And from that day, really having to redefine love as the most powerful force, stronger than hate, stronger than fear. Well, then it's not the stuff of that sweet and saccharine, I love you, romantic love, which is beautiful, of course, and without which I don't know that I'd want to even go on. But when love, as our dear friend Michelle Esrick, will define, and as Terry Real, great teacher, defines, love in that context is how do we take care of us? What contribution do I make to take care of you and me at the same time? If the next thing I said or did in reflection and with discernment is committed to that. So I would like to say goodbye with lead with love and ask yourself before the next thing you say or do, what would it look like if I came from a place of love?